Sorry about that. Yeah. Forgot.
I was listening to something earlier about understanding, and it's reminding me exactly of what you're saying. And it's like that there's the intellectual understanding of something, but then there's really understanding something, like, and they were using the metaphor of learning to ride a bike, that, when you just, somebody can tell you how to ride a bike and you might intellectually kind of get a sense of it, but it's really like when you ride a bike that you actually, get the feel for it or whatever, but it's very different. And so I don't know, it just reminds me of what you're saying too, that you can't really make it happen. Like you can't make yourself really see something different by trying harder or thinking harder. So it's,
yeah, like that sentence. What was it that, I don't know, I was listening to something today that kind of goes along with that, like when you were talking about trying harder. And I was listening to, what was I listening to? Something that was directed to veterans. One of them that was directed to veterans. I don't know. Do you know which one I'm talking about, Lori? Probably. It was a video.
The missing link one that they did with that maybe Bill Pettit and Judy Sedgman do.
This one was like, I think this is an older one.
And
okay. It was a recording that was like, I don't know, it was one of the, it came up on top with the missing link. And there was a part where she said, she was reviewing her chapter and it said that, or he said that part of it, he's like, I noticed that this is a lot of the things are in italics and not in bold. And they said, and it seems like they want you to listen softer instead of listen harder or speak softer, speaking louder. And I thought that was kind of cool because it kind of goes along with your saying, like,
yeah,
like
that's
not
so good.
Harder, just letting it be, and just
yes.
There's this like another level of seeing, of understanding, right? It just feels like, and that's the level of wisdom. Like, a metaphor that I like is learning to tie your shoes. Do you remember that? And you're
oh my gosh, yes.
And you're trying to follow, somebody's showing you this is how you do, and you try to copy that person and forget it. And then one day you just do it. How'd that happen? It's like riding the bike thing. How'd that happen?
And you can't and you can't really forget it. Like it's like kind of one of those things. I mean, I guess but really for the most part, it seems like you just have it for life, right? Like it's amazing. Yeah.
And that's true for seeing things like, gee, it works out better when I listen deeper. Works out better when I listen more than I speak. Things like that we just kind of pick up on. But I pick up on it. I'll speak for myself that I have picked up on those things to much larger extent because I'm looking in that direction of seeing deeper than the intellect. And the intellect is useful. It's great for certain things, but we're not going to see very deep with it. We're not going to see to the workings. It's almost like, clocks that have the plexiglass and you can see all the gears.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like seeing our gears, how they work.
Yeah.
And you can't do that through the intellect. And like Jen, you were saying, by trying to make something happen, by trying to see deeper, you can't.
No.
Yeah, because it's not an intellectual process. The intellect is good for recipes and shortest distance between 2 points and what time you have to set the alarm for, calculations. That's what the brain's good at.
Yeah, that's really good. I love the clock when you said that, Lori, and like the plexiglass, like you just really, because it does feel very much like that it's like the more kind of looking in this direction, the more you kind of get that glimpse of of how things work, not what to do, but just you keep seeing like, oh, it works this way. And then, what you just said, what was the other part? It was reminding me too, I was listening to something and Sid was talking about how, the mind loves details, loves to try to figure things out and loves to, kind of get in the middle of things. But there's that. And then there's, the something deeper that, that we can look for, and that we get lost in the details and trying to be in the playground of the mind, which is also very fascinating. But it's really to keep looking over, like, I'm thinking again, like what you said, it's like looking towards the clock and like, oh, how do we work? Or what's happening? What's our nature? And then, just looking there is so much, and then kind of just being still. I don't know, it's just made such a huge difference.
Yeah. Being still. That's tricky for people, a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at times it's tricky for me, that's
Me.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're almost kind of taught, even at an early age, to predict, right? And to always plan for and predict.
Yeah. Plan for the future, we're told. I
Try
mean,
to predict.
yeah.
I do it with my students every day. What do you think is going to be the outcome here? Predict. Let's predict. And I think, I feel like I'm taking some sort of magic and miracles away. I mean, we can't always predict. We shouldn't always predict. Let's just be. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's something so cool though too about the being curious though, or just that I could see also that there's something fun for them to that imagine, like when you're saying that too, of like just the sense of like, oh, what do you think's going to happen? Like that, I don't know. There's something kind of neat about that too. I mean, maybe I know what you mean about the word predict,
I don't
but
think we have to be so harsh on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Right or wrong. It shouldn't be right or wrong. It should be maybe. It should be maybe, because basically if there's a right and wrong, then it kind of takes that hope away, right? For a different
yeah.
Or anyhow.
To lighten up.
I know.
Lighten up more.
Yes. Lighten up.
Because you know that anything can happen, you take it like with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, that you're in that position to like just to bring that to it though. I love that, Jen, because then like it sounds from what you're saying, it's almost like you can bring that to it from a lighter place of just, well, what do you think's going to happen, or what do you know what I mean? Like that's so great, because I think it's like you're a teacher. I didn't realize that.
I'm a speech therapist.
Speech therapist, yeah, that's so cool.
Predicting outcomes and predicting and from life experiences and keeping it grounded, and you're like no. Because kids have that, like they believe in each other's stories, you know what I mean? So when does that all change? And should it all change at a young age? I don't know.
Yeah.
We have to be so grounded in what we think is reality, and whose reality really is it,
Yeah.
You know what it reminds me of? I may have mentioned this because it's funny, I hadn't thought of it in years, and I just recently mentioned it to someone somewhere. But there was a 3 principles practitioner that she took like a summer job teaching kids to read. I guess with you doing speech therapy, Jen, it reminded me. And so she didn't know the first thing about teaching kids to read. She just knew that their state of mind, they were going to read better if their state of mind was in the right place. So you know what she did? She brought in comic books.
Yeah.
And she goes into this, like there's this huge gymnasium as she described it, and the kids broke off into different groups to be with the different teachers. The other teachers came with stopwatches. And, like they were really, she said they had PhDs in teaching reading, and here she is, no degree. She has no idea what she's going to do. She comes in with her comic books, and they had a research. They did research on these programs. Guess whose program had the best outcomes?
Of course, hers. Yeah,
right.
Because of course.
Darlene with her comic books, with no background, no license to do this. It was a summer job for her.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Because it's state of mind. state of mind.
Yeah. I think of that, and it kind of makes sense too, that like I think of all my favorite teachers that I would have had in school, and it was like they just were a lot of fun, and you just felt like most of them just were really good at having that nice feeling that was, allowed for nice state of mind, for the most part. And so yeah, that's so cool. Wow, comic books, that was a good idea.
Yeah, flying by the seat of our pants. As long as you're not pretending
Right.
that you have a PhD, you just be yourself and you use your common sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And boy, that's really the best place to be.
Yeah. Right.
And you let wisdom guide you. That was wisdom that told her to bring comic books. I think, that was pretty wise.
Definitely.
What's going to engage these kids? What's going to
Right. And it's really nice because she's really helping the kids use the visual stuff so they feel confident. They can go by the picture if they're nervous about the words. It's just nice.
Yeah.
Just it's being considerate,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so neat.
That's an example of seeing.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's a great example of seeing
Like empathy, like of these kids. Yeah.
And then I think, oh yeah, just like thinking about the ones that would have come in with the stopwatch, and just thinking of myself that, at times if I thought like, oh, this was the right way to do it, that would be where I would go, because, I'd be trying to do it so right. And, just seeing how often that doesn't always go as well as you want it to go, but you get so caught up in the like, oh, this is how you do it. So you got to follow the plan, and you got to keep, again, intellectually, like, this is how I teach the kids to read or whatever. And so I don't know, it's been one of the wonderful things about this understanding is like just to get to be like, oh, really? You don't have to do it those ways, that, you don't have to be so uptight and so serious, coming back to the serious. And that's been so nice. My life has felt much lighter since coming across this.
Yeah, your life has been lighter. Coming across the principles.
Yeah.
And you could say the same thing, Jen, right? And I certainly know that's true for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Although I had a sleepless night last night. I woke up in the middle of the night and I just couldn't get back to sleep. I had made a mistake on my taxes. You'll appreciate this, Jen.
I did.
It wasn't the end of the world. It was like under $700, but close to 700, And so I'm up thinking about it. Where could that mistake have happened? Blah, 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 blah. My accountant pointed it out right away. It was really a simple thing. I transposed numbers incorrectly into QuickBooks, looking at the number, and, a little dyslexia there happened there. But anyway, so I started to think about gratitude, the things that I'm grateful for. And I think by the time I got up to 10, maybe 15, and man, I kept like coming up with things. There's so much to be grateful for.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just little things that you're like, wow, I'm really grateful for that. And it's so little, but it makes a huge difference in my life. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so
It's
good.
easy to forget that. I mean, the world is just so crazy right now. So crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And it could be really scary crazy, but what's that going to solve?
Yeah.
You got to just trust that this is the natural order of things, as strange and wacky as it appears.
It's right, because it could be something that's not in our in our mind yet. It could be just something simple as the reason that the pendulum's got to swing back. Who knows what it is, what the reason, we don't know.
We don't know. We do not know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
think that's the other thing I've gotten so much out of like coming to these calls is like just, and, you know, kind of following along and reading is just like remembering that more and more is like the, you know, like, oh, I don't know. And it's okay. Like, and to just, you know, be in the space of it, you know, it's like, and how it kind of just, it actually feels more comfort, so much more comforting now than it ever had before, you know, just to be like you're saying, like, we don't know. I can't see it. But what it's also done is that I think I just feel this sense of like, but just because I can't see it, I think I just have more faith that it's okay. Like, you know, in that there's something I can't see, but it's, I don't know, just feels like kind of like when Sid says the stuff about beautiful feelings, like that there's just something so much richer and deeper there that, you know, I just, with my little mind, haven't, isn't clear yet.
Right, right.
You know what I always have like questions about? I have questions about, like, I used to have questions early on about the whole, like, you were born with everything you need and healthy in spirit or whatever, because we're all, you know, connected and that's part of it, right? Kind of like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So that kind of used to be in the back of my mind all the time. And I was like, how could he say that? Because there's this going on in the world. And I'd be getting so angry. And I'd be like, okay, I have to think about this more because maybe I'm not thinking about this right. And then I was listening to a story in the video, maybe the one of the vet, the one that was to the vets again, the missing link, right? I guess it must have been from. And he was talking about how, I guess it must have been the Germans that were bombing. Yeah, the Russian dudes, but and there was the people in the hospitals, like the institutions, right? Do you remember this story? And he said that in those institutions, when all the bombs, whatever they were bombing them, Hitler was like targeting them, right? That these people in these camps or whatever, in these institutions, the people would get it together, that people that haven't talked in years, right? In these places that where they would put like mute people in, and they would help each other. Like they would find some way to talk and help each other. So they got out of whatever it was, that state of mind that prevented them from connecting with another being, right? And they would help each other because of the necessity.
Fascinating. I have not seen that video. Will you post it in Mystery's book for us?
I'll send it to you because I'm not so technological as you are. But that was what made me start understanding what he was saying, because I was getting angry over the whole thing. I was like, how could he say that we're all born? There's this, and this congenital thing because because of my background. And I was like, no, we are where we're supposed to be, and that's okay, right? And we are in the place that we're supposed to be.
Congenital anomalies, you mean, with the children that you're helping speak? Yeah.
So interesting because, oh, go ahead, Lori.
No, you go, Linda. You go. Yeah.
I was just thinking, like along those lines. I used to work at a residential home with paranoid schizophrenics, and I totally saw that. Like I just can remember, and this was before, back in like the late 1990s, 2000, and way before I came across this understanding. But I can just remember that it always struck me how much wisdom these folks had, that, there would be times when their mind would go, they'd be like, the person on the TV is talking to me. But what I really always kept thinking was, gosh, well, yeah, don't the rest of our own minds of that, the rest of us that are considered normal. I'm like, yeah, our minds do that too, in so many ways, maybe not specifically the, thinking so extreme, but really lots of times I felt like, yeah, our thinking gets pretty extreme at times. And but they would have like these just profound like insights about things. Or like there was this one guy, I loved him, Walter, and he's since passed away, but he was like, I was kind of struggling with something at the time, and I didn't really have an eating disorder, but I was very, very thin because I was kind of just dealing with a lot of anxiety. And he said something to me about like, he's like, you take care of yourself. He goes, don't you be like Karen Carpenter or something like that. And it just was like, really struck me that you know, he was just like, he was straight on at the time of like what was going on. And I just, you know, so I don't know, just that it all makes sense to me that, yeah, that we really do, no matter what has happened, that we have that well-being or that innate, you know, wisdom inside of us.
Yeah.
And Joe joined us. Hey, Joe.
Hello.
Hi, there you are.
Yeah, look, I'm really sorry I'm late, and
It's okay. We're glad that you could be with us. Joe's in Australia.
I'll just turn my video on. It's yes. So, and I'm sorry if I've just kind of dropped into the middle of your conversation there. And if you
That's okay.
like, I can leave if it like if you
don't leave.
No. You're here for the second half. That's cool. That's really
second
cool.
half. Yeah, that's me. Like the second half of everything.
So is it Tuesday? Is it Tuesday or you're early? Maybe you're early. Is that right? Because it's Tuesday there already. Is that what it is?
Tuesday. Yeah, it's 10:30 in the morning here. Yeah, so we're ahead. The future is okay, at least. Hours.
So you're ahead of us.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. So
wow.
I'm on. Yeah. Yeah. So. Yeah. So anyway, nice to meet. I always like drop in. There's different people in the room. So,
Yeah.
so I'm in a little art studio at the moment. So it's full. It's very messy because I've been pulling everything out of drawers and cupboards recently. So I've got like a full room of stuff. All the tables are covered. I don't know whether you can see them there in the background.
Oh,
Everything's covered.
nice.
Pretty organized.
I know, that's
it's
what I
not that.
thought
It
too.
doesn't look like that. I wish.
It looks like a fun place to hang out. Looks like a fun place to be.
Yeah.
Well, it's good. There's no students. I mean, it's not good that there's no students, but we are in lockdown here, so I haven't had students for since what are we in now? Nearly October. Since partway the end of July.
Do they do
Yes.
online teaching? In
Oh, you know
Australia?
what? We can have that. I just haven't got that organized. I'm not that organized. Okay. So I wish I was, but I'm not. So I have to try and. I mean, I may have to go that way in the future. I don't know. I mean, I'm very hands-on. I really like the personal contact and, you know, all of that. You can watch someone doing something. It's just different, you know, as you would know, you're in. But, you know, if online is all we have, then maybe I'll have to go that way and have to explore how I can do that.
It was a change. We had to switch over in the middle of, you know, treating, and we had to do everything by computer. And we had a week probably. Maybe we had a week to get it.
Are you a teacher?
I'm a speech therapist, but it was I want to say it was 1 week, but I think I had done virtual before, so it wasn't that difficult. It was just difficult getting organized for so many people.
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah.
And sharing your screen and all that kind of stuff. That was hard. Like doing, you know.
Well, it's perfect, Joe. You came in at the right time, actually, because we were talking about not knowing what the future will hold and just being open to what's coming next, right?
Yeah.
We never know.
Yeah. This is the case. Yes. Never know what's coming next.
And, you know, just to speak on that experience, at the same time that I had a week to get geared up in that, I had a teacher come to me and said, "You're going to do everything with me, Jen, so don't feel like you're alone out there." And she just dropped out of the universe to help me.
Yeah, well, that's
basically. Yeah. And she said, "Don't worry, I'm going to do everything and you're going to learn how to do it with me." So I was like, okay.
Wow. You know, and that piggybacks off of that video you were talking about.
Yeah.
How this group who were mute wound up talking and helping each other because they had to.
Yeah.
You know, somehow, I don't know how it works.
It's amazing.
It's just always amazes me to see how things and people come together. Sometimes it seems like it's in the final moment. when
Yeah.
things and people come together. I mean, look at Spencer with his apartment.
Yeah. Oh my
Right?
God,
I mean,
was
Jen's
losing my
son had to
mind.
get an apartment before school started in New York City.
Oh, wow.
And
And it was
600,000.
last minute.
Yeah, well,
Last
we've
minute.
been looking for a long time, but just never anything.
He
And
said
there
he
was-
looked at 10 apartments.
Oh,
Can I ask who Spencer is?
That's my son. Yeah.
Okay.
Jen's
Yeah.
son.
And he's
Yeah.
what, going to college, is he?
Yeah, and he found one. Thank God.
Yeah.
At the final moment. It was like
Right.
days before school started, right?
Yeah,
Isn't
and he
that
lost
the-
his roommate, so he had to find one on his own. It was,
Right.
I'm trying to make a cup of tea here.
oh, wow. That is amazing. It's kind of like the saying, like when one door closes, another one opens, or a window opens, but you just don't know when or where or what it's gonna. But there is something about like just being oriented, like we were saying earlier too, in that direction that I don't know, just kind of makes it a little bit easier to wait. Not always though.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is hard.
Yeah, you have enough experiences, I think, where things do come together. That's what gives me faith.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Definitely.
Having seen it happen, not in the way you think it's going to happen,
Right.
but things do
No,
come together.
Not in the way you think it's going to happen,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And not in the
Mm.
time that you think it's going to happen sometimes.
And not in the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the other part about being at school is that it makes me realize that everybody has different interests. So that's partly nice to see, because there's things that I would never want to do to be helpful to others, or like you look like you're an art teacher, Joe. Is that what you?
Yeah, I'm an art teacher.
And I see your environment and I think to myself, oh my goodness, I could never do that, nor would I desire to do that. But what you do.
Isn't it great that you picked that up?
I'm so happy that there's somebody like you that does that, but I never would want to do it.
I know, that's funny because I always think art teachers, yeah, we're a dime a dozen. That's what I think.
No.
I know that amazes me also, that look at
Yeah.
how we get entertained by people who have that capacity to entertain, right? Whether they're musicians or actors or writers or who knows. I mean, it just seems like it's such an amazing world that there's somebody for everything.
Right. And you think,
Yeah.
and with my students, I'm like, oh my gosh, I would never want to do that. And I think, I'm so glad you want to do it. And I'm so amazed at how you're interested in it. And that's probably part of how the gears work, right? Because
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
How we
it's
all
funny
fit
'cause
together.
Yeah, I talk about that a lot in my, and maybe I've said this before, I don't know, Laurie, but we talk about difference in art making and how the differences you need to create difference on a page or on a painting or in a piece of sculpture. Like they're really integral to the piece being interesting and catching people's attention, and it's sort of it brings life, like variety brings, there's that saying, variety is the spice of life. There's truth in that, because it's variety, it's having that helps us feel alive.
Mm.
And that's they're the things that we need. So in a piece, whatever it is, and then if you look around your rooms, all of you've got things in there that do that for you. Otherwise you wouldn't have them there. They're kind of little things that no one else might have in the same way or enjoy in the same way, but they bring something to you. So that's what we bring to our different vocations and our different ways of seeing the world and our different ways of exploring the world and experiencing the world. Actually, I was on a call with a friend in New Zealand a little bit earlier, and And I had Poppy with me, and I turned the camera around so she could. I was out in the park, and that's why I was late coming in here. And I just turned it around on the because I was sitting under the shade of these giant. They're called Moreton Bay fig trees. They're big, like a species of fig tree here. And
what are they called?
Moreton Bay figs. So they're fig trees, native to Australia. Not just found in Moreton Bay, which is up north. They're everywhere along the east coast, but they're giant. Like they've had huge buttress roots, but they've got massive. I just turned the camera around, and there were just sort of ended up on the leaves. And I was just saying, you know, we were talking about something to do with this, and I said, you know, every leaf, I used to paint a lot of leaves. I still do, but not as many as I used to do. But like, and every leaf, I called it the Every Leaf series, because every leaf is different. Every single leaf that ever was, that ever will be, is unique.
Yeah.
You know, and that is now. And you know, and there's some on the trees, there's some on the ground. But they've had a unique experience, or brought something to life. You know, it's just something to think about. Everything we do is new, and every movement we make is different. Anyway, it's about that difference, you know, bringing that life and that energy into, I suppose, in whatever way we find ourselves kind of exploring that in the world. So whatever you guys, you know, you do, you bring.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've gone off into the Neverland now in my thinking.
No,
It's perfect.
It's perfect. It's exactly kind of what we were talking about. Exactly.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
How that, you know, have that flowed into what we were talking about. Yeah, we were talking about seeing and knowing. And how does that happen? You can't make that happen. It happens when it happens.
It happens when it happens. Yeah.
When you see something that you hadn't seen before, and quite that.
Yeah. Or it brings something together, like that kind of connects to that and that and kind of all coalesces, doesn't it? So and something rises up. So
yeah.
There's something so beautiful, Joe, when you were sharing too about the differences. Like it's, you know, the feeling again was just so deep. Like it was so rich, the way that you talked about it. Like it just, like, I don't know, I think it made me have more of appreciation for differences as well, and just how beautiful that is. And in a way that I think sometimes it feels like, you know, it can be the opposite, that, you know, not having an appreciation, or, you know, so there was just something, I love how you see it, and it was very heartfelt. It was just really lovely. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and thank you for pointing that out, Linda. That's true.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize I was getting into that whole thing about we're all so different. And you had said at one point, Joe, about when you see a student, you know, a little insecure about putting the first mark on the paper, how you talk to them to encourage them, because whatever mark they put on that paper to start out, that's their unique mark.
You know what?
I love that. I mean, I'm not saying it as well as you did.
Sometimes I trick them into doing it. And I just say, "Oh, just test the pencil. Just test that pencil out."
That's so good.
It feels like I went into an art class today, and I feel like this generation just understands that they're not trying to do everything that the teacher does, you know?
Yeah.
They understand that I feel like they know themselves a little bit better than maybe my generation, or maybe I'm just thinking that. And they're comfortable.
Yeah, but you know, that's come out of this, you know, your generation, my generation, our generation, whatever it is. It's kind of grown out of that. So it's allowed that to open.
Yeah.
So I think
Kind of
that's
cool, right? When you think about it, they already know it. They didn't have to learn about impressionists. They know it.
Yeah,
You know?
it's the field, because it's already in the field, and there's that's the case. Like it's like those experiments where they train an animal in one side of the world to do something, and then somehow or other all the others sort of know how to do that. And it's like it's like that with
cool.
We learn, we discover, we uncover, and that generation will uncover something for the next. Once it's uncovered, and so it's
already there.
everyone,
right?
Yeah, it's there, and it's already there. It's just uncovering it.
Yeah. So cool.
There was a book,
That's
I think
cool.
it was, I'm not sure exactly of the title. I think it was something like The 1,000th Monkey or 8,000 Monkeys. Are you familiar with that book, where a monkey on one part of the globe discovered how to pick up a lot of ants to eat all at once, like on a straw? They realized they could use a stick or a leaf, a blade of grass or something. I don't remember the particulars. And the anthropologists on the other side of the globe realized that monkeys were learning the same thing at the same time. I mean, that's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It is
How does that happen?
Yeah, there's a guy called
Isn't that
Rupert.
wild?
What's his name? Rupert Sheldrake, I think, who's written about that. I know other people have too. He calls it something. He's got a word for it, quantum something or other. But it's all part of that kind of knowing that we're all one. There's an energy that's moving that we can't see, and it's part of that
connection,
that the great unknowingness. But it's it's kind of like being aware of that oneness, that
the oneness of life.
Something resonance. I forget what he calls it, the morphic field, but it's anyway, can't remember. Somewhere in there.
It'll come to you. Yeah, it'll come. It's one of those things that'll come to you when you're not thinking about it at all.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
True.
So
did any of you have like a favorite part that you read in Second Chance so far? I want to finish this reading. This is only my third reading.
Yeah.
I have to find out from Bill Pettit, because I'm going to be in his first class for this series tomorrow.
Yeah. When are you starting that?
Are you going to be there, Linda?
Oh, I'm not going to be. No, I'm no, I would have liked to, but I'm not going to. Not this time.
Yeah, I can't do everything. What about you, Joe?
No.
Anyway.
Well, yeah.
You can still sign up for it.
I would actually like to do that. I'd love to be in a training with Bill Pettit.
Yeah. You can still sign up for it. I put it in mystery school. Starts tomorrow, same time. I'm sorry. It starts on Wednesday at 2:00. I'm thinking that I'm in the Tuesday. Yeah, that's why I moved mystery school from Wednesday back to Tuesday. Plus, I had a couple of people who requested Tuesdays instead of Wednesday.
How is that being run? That's being run from through his thing, or is it through some other organization?
This is Bill's. It's Bill's course for practitioners. It's geared towards practitioners, and his required reading is The Enlightened Gardener,
which is a great book. Yeah,
I started to read The Enlightened Gardener again. It's such a fun book. It really is so fun. Yeah. You can picture. I mean, that's kind of what happened, right? Like you could almost name the people who were going to the
they're kind of
conference.
Archetypes, aren't they? They're sort of archetypes of people that you work with, and people, and also sides of ourselves. The ones that want to be really argumentative, and then more fluid, and then more, more flip. So there's all that. They're kind of like sides of our facets of ourself in a way, aren't they?
Mhm. For
Did
sure.
you start reading that, Jen? The Enlightened Gardener?
No, not yet. I was pacing myself with you guys, and then I started listening to my audio things.
Yeah.
But I
Oh,
will.
that's great. Yeah, it's great. It's a fun book.
Mhm.
Yeah, what a fun, it's such a wonderful group or community. It feels like a huge global community. So Three Principles Global Community is aptly named, right?
Yeah.
You just thought of something, Jen.
I just was thinking of the name, and I was like, how appropriate it is, and how it just grows organically, right? Kind of.
Yeah.
And how it's kind of like those animals that have new characteristics.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. I mean, we could say it's word of mouth, but animals don't have word of mouth. What are you thinking, Linda?
It's like that. It's just reminding me of like that again, like when Sid said like he could do more for the world by just, tending to his garden or doing something like that. Right. And it's like, because it's the feeling and that we are all connected. And so that is getting out, right, in the interweb. It's not getting out, because we're not typing it and we're not getting online, but we're offline or we're online on the deeper web, and it's getting through. And isn't that just so amazing?
It's I think the word was morphic resonance or something.
Oh.
I was trying to think of something like that, but it's that what you're saying, like it's like if you put love out, that fellow who the Japanese guy, he might be, I don't know if he's still alive, but he used to experiment with water and just loving a glass of water and and then analyzing the water molecules and seeing how amazing they looked. But if you focused or you gave attention to a glass of water and you tried to think negatively towards that glass, the water molecules rather, would be all scattered. And so it's what we can't see, like that, that power that we have and that all creatures have, but we have this ability to focus our attention deliberately, but we're also just loving, like the love goes out into the universe, and I can be wherever here and you can be wherever you are, but we can kind of feel that, and so it's like this, that ripple effect, isn't it? Just goes out. We can't see what the energy waves look like and how fast they can reach from here to there. But
and when that connection touches you, you could think about it tomorrow, you could think about it the next day, and you can make a connection that you didn't make today with what with your thoughts,
and keep connecting. It's there's this current, isn't there? It just keeps moving.
Current
and overlapping and
like energy, a current of energy. It's interesting.
It's just a way of visualizing it, but we can't, because we can't see how it works. We can kind of imagine it, but it's kind of fun to do that.
Right.
Nice, really nice. Whereabouts are you two? I mean, I know where Laurie is. You're in Minnesota.
Oh,
me?
Yeah,
I'm in Connecticut.
You're in Connecticut rather. And
I'm in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Jen's in Connecticut.
I'm in Connecticut too. Yeah.
That's a lovely. What a lovely name.
But Linda's in the West Coast. Linda, you're in the West Coast. You're in California.
No, I'm
right?
New York. No, just the West Coast of
right.
the West.
You're near Albany.
west of Connecticut, just west of Connecticut.
Yeah.
But yeah, not too far. Yeah, New York.
Yeah.
Well, we're all East Coasters then. I'm an East Coast.
You're east,
Yeah.
the East Australian coast. Is that what you said? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm on the Pacific coast.
Oh,
Okay. Oh,
We were
nice.
all 6 degrees of separation. That's
That's
what they
just
say,
true.
right? It's
Yes.
becoming more like 1 degree of separation.
Well, it is, isn't it? It is like that.
Mhm.
I just opened the book up to wherever I landed, and guess
that's
where I
good.
landed? On
Yeah,
page
tell us.
16 at the
Oh,
top. And the very first word is capitalized seeing. Seeing is an experience of going beyond the intellectual capabilities to which you now limit yourself. In that, in one sentence, that's what we've been talking about. Going beyond intellectual capabilities to
Yeah.
which you now limit yourself. You know, like we're so conditioned to think in so, particular ways. Like what we started talking about, how we're so conditioned to plan for the future and predict the future.
Or think we have to, it's kind of like think we have to because
why do we think we have to?
because we
Why?
we are conditioned like to kind of like why and we are conditioned by we're socialized into and kind of like this is the norm, this is what you do, this is like you do these things. From someone who's never kind of met those, I haven't ever met those marks. So anyway, so I don't know what's going on half the time, but hey.
Sounds like that's a good thing going on. But again, going on in the sense of like the socialized going on and what we're supposed to be looking for versus what's really going on. So that seems like a fun thing. I loved the invitation of what you said in that little of what you read, Lori, too. Like, what was it like going? It like just feels like such a nice like to go beyond what we are. What were the words exactly? I guess it doesn't matter, but going beyond what we already think. Yeah. And that there's something more, like I think that's what I've seen more and more with this understanding is or learn to trust that there really is something more beyond the little box of of my thinking and what I've already known. And it's like so awesome.
Yeah. Isn't it hopeful? Right.
It's so hopeful.
And it's calming because you just feel taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you could get out of your own way.
Yeah. Getting out of your own way. I love that. Right. Yeah.
I like also getting over yourself. Get over yourself.
Oh, that's huge.
And I like, that just turning to a page randomly, there's kind of like that what I call it, synchronistic serendipity.
Synchronicity, yeah.
A serendipitous synchronicity. So you it's just what seems random, it is kind of like the field knows like, okay, this is the page, your eyes light on that, your eyes light on that sentence at the top, and it's meaningful, it's something. So that's nice. It's just lovely how that all happens.
It may sound a little woo-woo, but I have heard people, and not different people, at least 2 different people say that they were in a bookstore and a book fell off the shelf.
Yeah.
And it was a book that like changed their life. Have you heard that story from somewhere, somebody? I've heard that from definitely. At least 2 people. I mean, How does that
Yeah,
happen?
I had that happen. I had
Did
that
you?
happen.
What, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like it was back in like years ago. I was in a bookshop and I was looking for a book for my niece for her birthday, and she was like just a kid at the time. And it was a little tiny crammed bookshop. Like the shelves were really close together, and there was like a big thing in the middle. And I kind of turned around quickly, and I bumped the shelf behind me as I turned around, and a book fell off into my hands, and it was called When Fear Falls
That's so
Away.
awesome.
When Fear
It was
Falls
called
Away.
what?
And it had a picture of leaves on the front that were,
Oh,
you know, that were like about to fall. and it was written by Jan Frazier, and she's in Maine. I think she lives in Maine or up north up that way somewhere. She's and it was only a new book, like she'd written it that year, I think 2007 or something, I think it was. But yeah, like I wasn't looking for that. I was looking for it.
Isn't that funny
But
that
it's
it
great.
happened to you?
Yeah, it was great. I was like,
Out
it was
of
just in my
four.
hand, so I bought it. Like I thought, okay,
Yeah.
I bought that book. It was like, but yeah, that was it was
You must have
her
been meant to
story.
have it.
Her story of how she kind of woke up to. But one of the lines in that book is just I just love the way it sort of starts. The beginning of the line of the paragraph just says, "One day it may dawn on you," and I just love that about everything.
Mm.
It dawns, things dawn on us. I love that idea of things dawning.
That would
If
be
it was
seeing.
anything, I kind of remember that. Yeah, it's like seeing. It's dawning. Things
Yeah. You're
come to light.
You're opening yourself
Yeah.
to the idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the possibility and all of seeing life differently, seeing things differently, experiencing. It's all back to that again. I've gone back full
Yeah.
circle.
And then when they talk about like miracles, like I guess in this one that I listened to, they talk about miracles, but miracles don't have to be miracles like this big thing occurring to you, you know,
Yeah.
the way they
It's
talk about
just
miracles.
Oh, yeah.
Something that,
Everyday miracles.
yeah, that you're just like, wow, I can't believe that that worked out that way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So cool. Say the name of that book again, Joe. What was that? Do you
when
remember?
when fear falls away.
Oh, when
She's
fear
written
falls
more.
away.
That was her first book, Frazier with a Z, I think. But she still lives up there in Maine, I think. But got three principles, but I didn't come across the three principles until a few years later. But she speaks from that. She's coming from the same place, so the words are very similar. And she has a great blog. Like if you ever, I think she kind of puts out. It's a bit random, but it's sort of about once a month she puts something out, and I still subscribe to that. So I love reading that because she's always got it. She's a poet as well. She was, I don't know whether she's still working, can't remember, but she was teaching creative writing at the time.
Mm.
So she writes really well, and she's won a few awards for her writing, so she's a good writer.
Isn't that interesting that it just came to you? Right? I think that's like amazing. You know?
Yeah.
That was kind of like, must have been, like, it was sort of, I suppose I can't remember 2007, what I was doing at the time. I can't actually quite remember what I was doing, but where I was working but it's, like things just come along, don't they?
Yeah.
You kind of get exposed to something and then it opens up.
If you're open to it, right?
Yeah.
Being
But
open
even if
to
you're
it,
not,
yeah.
it's kind of logged there. So even if
Yeah,
you're not
I was
open at
thinking
the
that
time,
too.
it's
you're open
logged.
Sometimes.
Yeah. So it's just like it's there in your library to open when you're ready because it's logged there,
Oh,
and you're in a library.
yeah.
So every experience
Your
you've
inner
ever had,
library.
yeah, it's there. So it's like someone told me years ago, it's an old guy was saying, we were talking about books, and he said to me, books, and it was just we were talking about books at the time. So, but it's everything kind of can kind of fit into this. Like we said, books are like this treasure. Like even if you don't read it straight away, you've got it there, and it's a treasure chest you can open sometime down the track. So it's but lots of things are like that. The things like those things in your, I was just thinking like what's behind, like what I can see of what's behind you guys in your spaces, you know, that all of those things have got a story to them, and there's a treasure in there. Everything has like you can go in any direction, really.
Look what's behind Linda. I wanted to say
Well,
that when you first.
I'm in my daughter's room actually. So it's like a little tapestry that she has, and she's got like, she has old records like hanging and like old records.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So when you said story, I'm like, I think there's lots of stories to all of what the way she picked things, and it's fun to hear you say that. But for everybody, right? It would, that's really cool. And you too, Joe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I saw the depth of your studio. I didn't see that the last time you were on.
There's a lot of stuff in these.
Yeah, it's huge.
Random
It's
stuff.
like a bowling
It looks
alley.
bigger than it is. I don't know, but Zoom makes it look a lot bigger than it is. But it's kind of, it's got this book. There's stuff everywhere for making art.
Your students love it.
Also for exploring ideas, you know, like books, art books and things. So there's resources for doing that too. So it's kind of like nice. It's a bit like a kitchen. You've got like ingredients. I love kitchens because they're like all the ingredients there to make things with. So an art room is like a kitchen, really. So.
Oh my goodness! I want to come and take an art class with you, Joe.
No, I want to go over there and use those.
I have to try and do something online and maybe.
No, I really want to come over. I want to come to Australia.
Me
come
too.
in your kitchen.
Not during lockdown, no.
But wouldn't that be nice though? Wouldn't that be like, I would like to have do a 3 principles thing one day with an art class as part of it.
You'd probably be great with that.
Oh my gosh, yes.
With the art mix.
I just always think that'd be like fun to do. Just for fun.
Because you would get us to get in touch with our
fun, just for the heck of it.
We would get in touch with our, I don't know what our
Laurie an art teacher. She could do that too.
Oh,
oh, that's right, Lori. You did that for you were doing art.
Yeah.
Ladies, it's after 9
Oh
o'clock.
yes. Wow.
And since I didn't sleep a lot last night, I'm
late
going
for
to
you.
sleep
We gotta
soon.
wrap up. Yes. Yeah.
But this has
Thank
been
you.
so much fun. I'm gonna leave here and I'm
Thanks for
gonna go
not minding me
change the
coming
time
late.
for the next one so I can make it correct this time.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll be on my toes. Thanks for pointing that out to me, Linda.
Oh,
That
yeah,
I wrote the
yeah.
time wrong today.
I didn't. Well, I don't often, like I said, I just caught it at the end, and then I was hoping that maybe that it was wrong because here I am. I hopped on. I was like, maybe it wasn't right. I'm so glad it wasn't because I'm glad to be here with all of you. It was so nice to meet you, Joe. Too nice to see you
That's
again,
right.
Jen.
You two have not met each other.
Yeah,
I've been on
yeah.
the same.
No.
Oh, cool. And I'm
Yeah.
gonna
And
stop the
thanks for those little
recording.
bits you read out, Laura.